Okay, so as we jump into chapter 8, we're going to be looking at volume. And so the first section, we're going to be looking at volume of cylinders. So starting out with activity 1, first thing it says on part A is to find the area of the face of a coin. Okay, now they don't give us any dimensions or anything about this. So all we're going to do on part A is just write the formula for how we would find the area. So the shape of the coin is a circle, and to find the area of a circle, you take pi times the radius squared. Okay, couple notes over here. Anytime we see pi, we're going to use 3.14. And in this case, the r is the radius of a circle. And if you remember, that is the distance from the center of the circle to the outside. Okay, so let's say, just for instance, I'm going to draw this in here. Let's say we had a radius of 2 centimeters. If we were to do that, we would take pi, which is 3.14, times the radius, which is 2, and then we have to square that. So we have 3.14 times, and then 2 squared is 4. And then I can pull up my calculator here, and we're taking 3.14 times 4, and you get 12.56. So that would be our answer for the area of the dime right here, and we would label that as centimeters squared. Okay, now on part B it says find the volume of a stack of a dozen coins. Okay, so keep in mind a dozen is 12. So if I know the area of one dime is 12.56, to find the volume, I just take that area and multiply it by how many I have, which was 12. So I'm going to take, I can pull my calculator up here. I'm going to take 12.56, and then I'm going to multiply that by 12. And you get 150.72, and it's volume. So our labeling would be centimeters cubed. Okay, so what we did is we took the area of one coin and multiplied it by however many we had. So for part C, it says write a formula for the volume of a cylinder. So all that is, we'll put this out over to the side. To find the volume, we take the area of the base, which they show as B. I'm going to go ahead and write what that is. Area of the base, so a circle is pi r squared, and we multiply that by the height. So you may want to highlight this, circle it, something to make it stand out. This is the volume, or the formula for the volume of a cylinder. Okay, and you will need to have that memorized, because when it comes time to the test and on the map test, that will not be given to you, so you will need to have that memorized. Volume equals pi times the radius squared times the height. Now we're actually going to jump down to activity 4, part A. It says, just by looking at the two cylinders, which one do you think has a greater volume? Okay, so we have the one on the left, the one on the right. Okay, and this is just a personal, your own personal opinion. Which one do you think has the greater volume? Which one do you think would hold more liquid? Okay, so I want you to take just a minute. You may need to pause the video, but you're going to write which one you think has a greater volume, and make sure you explain your reasoning. Maybe you think the one on the right because it's taller, or maybe you think the one on the left because it's wider. Okay, either one, just make sure you have the reasoning to back up why you think it has the greater volume. Okay, now on part B, we're actually going to find the volume of each cylinder. Okay, so I'm going to do the one on the left first. All right, so remember, for the volume of a cylinder, we take pi times the radius squared times the height. So for this one on the left, we're going to take pi, which is 3.14, times the radius, which is 3. We have to square that, times the height, which is 4. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and simplify this before I start plugging it in. 3 squared is 9. So in my calculator, I'm going to plug in 3.14 times 9 times 4. Okay, and you get 113.04. That's the volume of the cylinder on the left. Now we're going to do the same thing for the volume of the cylinder on the right. Okay, here's my formula. I just plug in numbers and that's it. Pi is 3.14 times r is the radius, and that radius is 2. So 2 squared. It's really easy to forget to square that, so make sure you remember that. And then times the height, which is 9. And again, I'm going to simplify this a little bit. 3.14 times, well, 2 squared is 4, and then times 9. And what I'm noticing is it's just the exact same sequence over here. So I'm going to get the same answer either way. Okay, so it asks you, was your prediction in part A correct, and explain your reasoning. Okay, so unless you said that you thought they were the same, then your prediction's going to be incorrect. So if you did say they were the same, then you're correct. So just make sure you finish answering that part of the question before you move on. So you may want to pause the video for just a minute while you do that. Okay, so looking at number 5, it says, in your own words, how can you find the volume of a cylinder? So we're basically just going to explain the process. So remember, if you think back to the dimes that we were looking at the very beginning, remember the very first thing we did was we found the area of the circle. So I'm going to write that first. Find the area of the base, which was a circle. And then once we did that, we multiplied it by how many dimes we had, or the height of it. So we'll say then multiply that by the height. Okay, and that's basically how you find the volume of a cylinder. Now number 6 says, compare your formula for the volume of a cylinder, which is what we've just done, with the formula for the volume of a prism. How are they the same? So of a cylinder, we took pi r squared, which that was the area of the base, the area of the circle, and then multiplied it by the height. For a prism, you take length times width and then times the height. So I notice in both of them you have to multiply by the height of the shape. But in a cylinder, before we did that, we did pi r squared, which was the area of the circle, the area of the base. If you think about a prism, the shape of the base is a rectangle or a square. And the way you find the area is length times width. So when it says how are they the same, both take the area of the base and multiply by the height. Okay, and then if you flip over to the next page, the practice page, there's one more type of problem that I want to do before you start working on the assignment. And that is to work through, let's say, number 3, where if you notice, they give you the volume and you have to find the height. So it's going to be a little different from when we were trying to find the volume. We're going to be using the exact same formula, just numbers will be plugged in a different place. So I'm going to start out by writing my formula for the volume of a cylinder. And then I'm just going to plug in numbers where they go. Well, I know the volume is 84, so that's going to go where the V is. Pi is 3.14 times R is the radius. Now, 6 inches is the distance all the way across, which is the diameter. Your radius is only half of that. So if the diameter is 6, your radius is going to be 3. And then we multiply by the height. We don't know that, so I'm going to leave that as h. Okay, and then you solve this like you would a regular equation. So 3.14 times, well, 3 squared is 9, times the height. And then I need to figure out what 3.14 times 9 is. You get 28.26 times the height, and that has to equal 84. And then to get that height by itself, we need to divide by 28.26. And then I'm going to bump my answer up over here. So we have 84 divided by 28.26. And here's our answer. If I look back at the directions, it says round to the nearest whole number. So this would round to 3. And my labeling is all in inches. So your height would be 3 inches. Now, for your assignment for this section, you're just going to finish the rest of these problems on page 170. So we've already done number 3 together. So you just need to finish 1 through 5.